Hey, YouTube family, how's everybody doing? Um, I want to talk about a topic that's dear to my heart, and I know it's going to cause some controversy, but that's okay. I like controversy. I like going back and forth and discussing things that you may agree with or not agree with. Um, we live in a climate now, we all know politically that ICE is out after people, um, undocumented people. At first, it started out with the premise of getting all criminals out of this country, and I think that's a good thing. We need to get these gangbangers, all these people that come in here, and all they want to do is commit crimes. Get them out of here. Yeah. What I have issue with is when they grab people that maybe be documented and the way they're doing it, and they make them disappear and stuff like that. And these documented people, they came here and they're doing the right thing. They're doing the paperwork, and they're trying to file for citizenship. They're trying to file for work visas, student visas, whatever the case may be. And these cowards are waiting for them in the damn courthouse with masks on, like they're trying to rob you or mug you, and then they grab them and they disappear. I don't agree with that crap. This is not really the topic of this video, but I started that in the beginning because I'm talking about citizenship, okay? And when it comes to Puerto Ricans as far as citizenship. Now, when I retired out of the Army, I worked for a company called Goya Foods. I don't know if you heard of them, the biggest Hispanic company in the United States. So you can say that I raised my family on rice and beans. So I worked with them for 20 to 25 years. And during that process, because I dealt with a lot of Spanish supermarkets and bodegas, I come across many immigrants, documented and undocumented. And many of them have asked me the question, why are Puerto Ricans U.S. citizens? And I reply, we are U.S. citizens because we shed our blood. And you say, what? What are you talking about? Okay, I'm going to give you a little history lesson of Puerto Rico. Now, a lot of these immigrants, they don't know the relationship that Puerto Rico has within the United States. That Puerto Rico is a commonwealth, a territory of the United States. And that we, or some people call it a colony, all right? Now, that relationship started back in 1898 during the Spanish-American War. Of course, the United States won that war, and they then took from Spain possession of the Philippines, Cuba, Santo Domingo, Haiti, Puerto Rico, etc., and other islands. Okay, for some reason they decided to give freedom to these other islands, and they became independent nations of their own. Now they kept Puerto Rico for military strategic reasons. We're close to the Panama Canal, we're close to South America, we're close to the United States. Blah, blah, blah. That was the reason. Now, but after the Spanish-American War, and we're getting close to the time of World War One, the United States had a little dilemma. They needed to make sure they had enough military men to draft because they knew they were going to fight in World War One. So what did they do? They decided to do what we call the Jones-Stratford Act of 1917. Now, what does that do? Now, bear in mind, Puerto Ricans were not citizens back then. They were nationalized, and there's a difference, you could Google it, but they were not U.S. citizens. So they cannot draft people that are not U.S. citizens. So the Jones Act made it possible to draft Puerto Rican men into the military. And this happened weeks before World War One, by the way, conveniently. So 18,000 Puerto Ricans were registered for the draft, and Puerto Ricans served in segregated units. Now, what are segregated units? We all know what a segregated unit is back then. African American units. They weren't allowed in the regular units unless you were white Puerto Rican. Now, the Jones Act served the military needs. They didn't really do it because the government didn't really do it because they felt like, Puerto Rico's a territory. Let's go ahead and make them U.S. citizens for whatever reasons, No, they needed men to fight in the wars. So military service for Puerto Rican men has started since 1898. All right, they served in World War One, World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam War, the Grenada invasion, the Panama invasion, uh, Iraq, Afghanistan, all the Gulf War, let me not forget, and of course, the Cold War years. So Puerto Rican men been serving this country, and because now they're citizens, and during those wars they were drafted or they voluntarily joined. Now, I will mention one thing, and I like to talk about these guys. The 65th Infantry Regiment, the Borinqueneers, the only Latino segregated unit in the military, okay, earned the Gold Congressional Medal for their actions in valiantly fighting in the Korean War. So we have shed our blood for this country, folks, ever since World War One to the present. And we could go back even further if you want to go back in history. But that's why when somebody asks me, how do Puerto Ricans earn their citizenship, I can just honestly say, well, through the Jones Act. The Jones Act, Congress made it possible that through the Jones Act, we are now U.S. citizens. But when I technically look into it and realistically speak about it, we earn our citizenship through the shedding of our blood in fighting our wars. Because the premise to make Puerto Rican citizens was to draft us into the military. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a combat vet. I fought in Vietnam. I was in the infantry. I was a machine gun. I carried that pig up and down those mountains of Vietnam. Okay? I'm proud of my military service. I served 21 years, and I'm proud to be an American. But I'm also proud of my Puerto Rican ethnic background. But it still doesn't take away the premise that Puerto Ricans, and I'm pretty sure a lot of them feel the same way, and some may disagree, that we earn our citizenship because we shed our blood for this country. Okay? Because that was the premise, to let Puerto Ricans be citizens because now they qualify to join the Army. Now, compared to immigrants from other countries that have to cross the border, either legally or illegally, okay, either documented or undocumented, and then go through the process. We didn't do that, okay? Just like Mexicans like to say that we didn't cross the border crossed them, all right? So I feel the same way. The border crossed us, all right? We didn't cross the border. We didn't go to New York and apply for paperwork to apply for citizenship. The United States put it on us to draft us into the Army to fight in World War One, and so on and so on and so on. And the story continues, folks. So I know I'm going to get some debate on this. Okay, I love debate. God bless, folks. Please like and subscribe. Brand new channel. Okay, and if you have any questions about this, go ahead and comment. And take care, folks. Bye.